Welcome, Wargamers. Doug here from 2 Plus Tough. I have a huge announcement today. I won't make you wait for the entire thing, but just to put it very quickly up front, I am now part of designing a awesome skirmish war game that's going to be focused on narrative play, campaigns, storytelling, and all that kind of stuff. So if you want to learn more, stick around. So for some context, for those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, a couple weeks ago, I released a video talking about, what I want in a narrative game. Okay, and that is to say, it's a very relatively simple skirmish game, two activation economy, I guess is probably the best way to put it. Keeping it very simple, but having a lot of ways to build onto it, specifically build into it and add complexity and narrative and themes and all these kinds of things. The way that I articulated it in that video, and I'll put it in the link if you want to see the whole thing, was that I wanted to have like quarterly updates where I basically pick a region of my fictional world and then flesh that out with lore and history and art and all these kinds of things, rules, maybe a new faction or something, and then basically just do that quarterly and have all different kinds of narrative supplements month to month. Now, when I made that video, I had mentioned the fact that somebody was willing to license me a game. I'm not a hardcore, crunchy game designer by heart. The most I ever did was make the Lonesome Road rules for Warcry, which are great, and people have loved it, but it's very different from designing an entire game from the ground up. So I was going to license this guy's game engine and that kind of stuff. For whatever reason, and I'm still not sure, after that video went out, I got an immense amount of positive feedback. People wanted to be a part of the project so bad. However, the guy that I was going to license stuff from just went silent. Now, it could be a few things. It could obviously be that maybe he saw the video and the amount of enthusiasm involved and was like, well, maybe I should keep this and not license it out. Or, I know that he was having health issues when I messaged him, as I mentioned in that video. I hope they didn't take a turn, but I don't know. I haven't heard from him since. And so this put me in a position where I have a lot of positive feedback for people being like, I want this thing, right? I want it to exist because it sounds fun. At the same time, I have no rule system for it. And so I just kind of sat in a lurch for a bit. And then I was like, well, I guess we got to design this ourselves. And so I created a small Discord with just a few people, many of which were from my Patreon community. And we're just like, okay, how do we start, right? Scratchboarding this all together. And what I will say is it got extremely overwhelming very quickly. As Vince Ventrella and Adam from Tabletop Minions can tell you, game design is incredibly overwhelming. You have so many ideas. Ideas are cheap. People can throw them at you all day and just drown you in them. But you still have to manage your vision of the game and all this stuff. It got so overwhelming that I totally burnt out. If you noticed a kind of a lull in channel content, like there's like 2 weeks where almost nothing came out, that's because I hit an emotional wall and I just needed a break. Ultimately, it was good for me. It really truly was. It was a good reset point when I had that. And so what I did after that was, I started taking on contracts for advertising again because that's how I pay my bills. And so one of the companies that I did a advertising thing for was for this game going on Kickstarter called Legacy of Atmos. I have a lore video and a few reviews of their rules and that kind of stuff in the description below. But essentially, Legacy of Atmos was a really interesting game to me because it is that simple on the surface, with the core mechanics, simple skirmish game that is designed to have cool stuff bolted onto it. So, whether it's based on their region where you're fighting in or, the context of your fight, there's a lot of things that you can add to your games to make them very deep and very flavorful. Well, so I put out all my videos for Legacy of Atmos, and the guys who were running the Kickstarter, there's two guys, Taylor and Joey, are the other owners in the company. They took the Kickstarter down after 2 days because they got overwhelmingly positive feedback, but people were specifically asking for their big box set to be scaled down. So yes, it's cool that we have 8 different ways to build each faction, but actually for the price point, can we get something that's a little bit more tame, right? So maybe just 2 or 3 ways to build these specific sub-factions, and it's at a lower price point. So, taking all the goodwill and the positive feedback that they got, they took the Kickstarter down. Now, in that interim, between when the Kickstarter was down and I was having my emotional crisis, they reached out to me and asked if I would want to come on board. And like, I'm looking at this as I'm spinning my wheels, trying to make my own game, which honestly, at the end of the day, is not terribly dissimilar from what I had designed to what they had already cooked up and have a healthy, thriving community on Discord for. They weren't vastly different. And so I was like, absolutely, because I came on board to Legacy of Atmos to be a part of their lore writing and as well as their narrative play and community engagement kind of point person, specifically for community engagement. And so that's something I wanted to announce and share with you all that I am very excited about. So 2+ Stuff is now a part of Legacy of Atmos. I mean, I say they're a part. The channel is separate, right? That's my main job, and then this game I'm going to be just kind of working on part-time in the background. So it won't affect channel stuff at all. You won't see a difference. After Holy Havoc, I'm way more invigorated to talk about Age of Sigmar than ever before. But I wanted to make this announcement to you because it's something that I'm passionate about. So the ideas that I had for how to supplement narrative things will be going towards this game. We have a beautiful world with incredible art that I'm going to be taking the time to flesh out and bring to life and allow people to take very detailed, exciting journeys into it through campaign modes and that kind of stuff, and I cannot be more excited to share that with you. Now, when they took the Kickstarter down and then I came on board, we're actually in the process of kind of tweaking some of the rules because there were some things that popped up as far as like when certain effects triggered and that kind of stuff. So we're in a cleanup phase right now, but we do plan on relaunching for some kind of crowdfunding site. I think either Kickstarter, GameFound, whatever it is. But essentially the idea is we have a whole bunch of models that are beautiful and STL files for them if you were interested in, if you have a 3D printer and you would like to try these out. There's actually a web store now where it has the files available for download, very affordable, and all that kind of stuff. So I just wanted to kind of share that announcement with you. It's a big deal for me. I'm very excited. I could not be more excited. I feel like I have a project that is like my own, and it's part of a team, of course, but it's a game that I can promote and invest time and energy into, that there's like a direct return, both emotionally by feeling like I'm doing the thing I love, but also obviously monetarily, because when this thing launches, the goal is that it's going to sell like gangbusters, right? Isn't that always the goal for every game? So anyway, this is my announcement for that. I'm going to leave a link to the Discord for Legacy of Atmos down below. I hope that you would join there. Again, it's a bunch of cool people. We're doing a ton of play testing and redesigning right now to make it tighter, faster, that kind of stuff, after some feedback that was given after the Kickstarter. So it's not going to be out, anytime like immediately. It's not like we had to take it down and just change a few things and throw it back up. We're doing real work into it and investing time into the narrative aspect and making it much more of a unique game, but still very approachable. Anyway, I wanted to share that with you. I hope that makes you excited and you want to check it out. I have a whole bunch of links down below. Obviously, I mentioned before references to the previous videos I made, the Discord for Legacy of Atmos, as well as the actual site with the store with the STL files if you wanted to check them out. I absolutely love the models. I raved about that in my review. And now I'm like, oh my god, like I have a game where I have kick-ass models. Like I love it. I'm so excited. Sorry, my voice is all gone. I went to Holy Havoc this weekend. But I'm so excited to talk about it and dive into it further with you all. But I just wanted to make that announcement because it makes me so happy. So anyway, we will go back to your regular scheduled content this week. But I hope that you are as excited for me, and you will follow along on this journey. Some things that you can probably look forward to are going to be things like, development diaries, obviously painting sessions, how we create things, how we design units from the ground up and that kind of stuff. And so I really do hope that you enjoy that. Thank you all so much for the constant encouragement and goodwill and good vibes that have been thrown at me in the idea of like being a part of a game community. I honestly am quite relieved that I'm now not like the single source of decision making when it comes to game design, because I don't know what I'm doing, but part of a team of really awesome guys who are great, just awesome people who are excited about the hobby and wonderful to work with. At the end here, I just want to throw a few things out for what this means for the channel. So keep in mind, 2+ Stuff is totally separate and distinct from Legacy of Atmos. Okay, it's just a game that I'm kind of like on the board for creating content and community engagement and that kind of stuff. I'm going to be doing stuff for about 15 to 20 hours a week, which is quite nice because it slides pretty well into my schedule. So it's not going to detract anything away from, Age of Sigmar content. The Elder Scrolls is another game that I want to talk a lot about, as well as Conquest, of course. So those kinds of things, they're not going away. They're not changing. The only thing you're going to see is more. You're going to see like game developer diaries as you take you on the journey of designing this game from the ground up, as far as that goes, and then also painting sessions for it. Obviously, I'm going to stream some games because they have a great TTS format, or what's it called, like mod, where you can actually get the actual miniatures and artwork and that kind of stuff. All that stuff's really cool. So you're just going to see more of that, and of course, it's really nice to have something that I can promote that directly supports me. I mean, it's awesome to talk about other people's games, but at the end of the day, having something of your own is just very different. So friends, I hope to see you in our Discord down below. That's Legacy of Atmos, and I will catch you there. Thank you so much for watching and hanging out with me. Happy wargaming.